Hi, I'm Jan Rehner, the author of The House of Izieu. Let me tell you a bit about the book. It's a true but tragic story of an extraordinary woman. Her name was Sabine Zlatan, and she and her husband set up the House of Izieu in Nazi-occupied France. They set it up as a sanctuary for Jewish children. I'm going to read a selection from two of those children. Sabine rescued 44 children from French detention camps and took them to the beautiful place and kept them there as long as she could. So here's the first reading from Sarah Skullpapper. She's 11 years old. I remember in another life, there was a girl named Sarah. Her life was like one of those fairy tales her mother used to read to her in front of the fireplace in an apartment in Paris. Sarah's mother was kind and loving. Sarah's father granted her every wish. She had a dress as blue as the sky and another as golden as the moon. But one day, an evil king came to rule the land. He had 1,000 soldiers, and they all raised their arms in the air when the king spoke. He shouted so loudly that even the earth seemed angry. Silly Sarah thought that had nothing to do with her. She was happy in her own little world. When the king handed out yellow stars, she was stupid enough to think you got stars for good behavior. Then one night, bandits in black uniforms took away Sarah's father and mother, and all her pretty things were stolen. She couldn't think what she'd done to the king for him to punish her so. Maybe she was weak and greedy, like the king said when she finally listened to him. People who used to be her friends didn't recognize her anymore. She ran to her teacher, and he just shook his head. She ran to her cousins, and they told her to hide. She ran to her rabbi, and he told her to pray. She ran to the soldier, and he told her to get on the bus. It took her all the way to Riefsalt, and she was smart enough then to know she was in hell. Sarah could never have survived in that place. She was too spoiled. So one night she went asleep and woke up as Suzanne. I'm a lot braver than Sarah. I pay attention. I watched this Red Cross nurse for days taking away other children. So I marched right up to her and said, "Take me." She did. At the House of Izieu, I became a wild bird, shaking the smell of reef salt from my feathers. The other girl I used to be knew a story about an ugly duckling that transformed into a swan. Poor Sarah. She thought it was just pretend, but I know it's true. I'm that swan. This next selection from another child rescued by Sabine. This is Senta Spiegel, 9 years old. When I was 4 or 5 years old, I thought people were only given a certain number of words to last their whole life. Once my words were used up, I'd have nothing more to say. So I saved mine up. I had to say please and thank you, but I wasn't going to waste any words on the weather when you only had to look at the sky. At the camp we were sent to, my parents and my sister Martha and me, no words seemed to matter, not even please. Madame Zlatan came to that camp and read out some words on a list. My sister took my hand, and I said goodbye to my mother. My father was somewhere else in the camp where no words would reach him. We went from place to place. Nothing was familiar. Martha spoke for both of us. I stored up the word mother. I saved it, hoping I might use it again someday. If I wanted anything, I could point, but everything I wanted was somewhere else. Leah tried to get me to talk. By this time, I was old enough to know there were endless words, but what did it matter? How many words were there for sorrow, and what good would it do to let them out? Then one day we were all piled onto a bus, and we drove through the countryside. Everyone was chattering. I felt like I was on the bus with a flock of honking geese, all those words floating around and bumping into each other in the air. "We're going to summer camp," Martha said, all excited. I knew what the word camp meant. I thought she was crazy to be happy about it. When the bus finally stopped and I looked out through the window, my mouth formed a perfect O. Everyone got off and started running about. I just sat there for a long time. Leah came to find me. "Senta, are you okay?" I smiled at her. "This is paradise," I said. The words just flew out. So those are the two selections from just two of the 44 children. It is a tragic book, but it's also filled with courage and love. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the reading, and I hope you enjoy the book.